What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Save Point Podcast, episode 11. I'm one of your co-hosts, Alex, and I am, as always, joined by Sway. And we got quite the docket here today. We got Horizon as part of a PSVR 2 kind of package. We have, of course, Hogwarts Legacy. I think the H in Horizon got me to think of Hogwarts. But we got that Atomic Heart, like an Ishin, even we're in the midst of things, my friend. So how are you? As we always kind of say, we can talk a little bit about what we've been playing. I think that's how we'll probably bring Hogwarts into the conversation, but it won't be fully centered on Hogwarts episode. So how you doing, buddy? And what you been up to?
Hogwarts Legacy. Not intentionally. My save that I was ahead of was on my PS5. This week was a little hectic, but I was like I would not be deterred. So I don't know if I said this last week, but I got the collector's edition. I was
Yep.
able to come up on a collector's edition. And so I have it for PC as well as PS5. And I was able to play on my Steam Deck quite a bit to the point where I caught up on my Steam Deck for where I am on the PS5.
Oh my God.
So that is literally primarily where I am. So I haven't gotten further than I was on PS5, but the last thing I did was the first place where you get your traits and you dive further. Well, I ain't gonna not gonna spoil it, but you you get your trait points, and you can use them, and you can use them to get certain spells or enhance certain spells. So
Yeah.
that's about where I am on both consoles now. What
Nice.
about you, Alex?
I beat it. I
I
took a
seen.
Yeah, I took a break. Well, the only way I beat it now is just my review, not on Twitter. I took at the time you guys are watching, I will go back. I do actually think I needed a break. So when we're recording this, last night I played 1 hour of a game, which is actually gonna be my next video on the third channel, and then I watched hockey. So I kind of wanted to disconnect. I'm gonna beat that game. It's like a 4 hour game, so I just want to beat it, and then I'm gonna try to 100% Hogwarts. I just need to step back. It is and I said it actually in my review. It finally hit me. It actually. I actually am, I think, an emotional guy. I think my wife would probably say that. I'm probably more emotional than most men. But I haven't really gotten choked up ever when talking, even the day before when I did that final live stream. I want to be emotional, I thought I would, but I really wasn't. And then even when playing the game, the opening is so, we've talked about, not spoiling the opening, but it's something to be played, to be seen. But I
Yes.
really didn't get choked up oh, this was 4 years in the making. Beating it, that's when it did it. I won't spoil the ending for you,
Oh,
but the ending, I have a lot to say about the ending. In fact, I did a video. It'll probably be out by the time you guys watch this. There's a lot wrong. I actually don't like it, maybe more than I do, for different
okay.
reasons. We'll talk about it once you beat it. But there is a lot of power in the ending. I think, I like it as well. And the final couple scenes, the music, the setting, all this stuff. And it wasn't even, I guess it was the emotion of the game, but it was also, wow, it's over. And I didn't cry or anything, but I definitely, in terms of choked up or the most emotional I've ever been with this game, besides the first showcase when it was announced. That one, I couldn't believe it. Literally, that is, I wish I showed my face, because when people say, we want to see your genuine reaction, these kind of YouTube videos, I don't really have it. I hate faking it. I think those people are so cringe and all that stuff, but I actually had that reaction when I first saw it. My jaw
That's
dropped.
beautiful.
I was emotional. I was like, I can't believe it's actually real. Because at that point, I was still talking about it for 2 years. But beating it, it's okay, I actually, and that's kind of why I want to take a step back, because it's wow, it's actually over. It's actually nuts
This
to
was the
even,
journey.
and the way the endings are and choices and all that stuff, I don't anticipate playing it more than the time I probably already did. I guess to get the platinum, you have to do more. So I probably will play it more, but you only have to get to a certain point. I guess without spoiling it, there is a mission early on in the game that is different for every house. And you
Okay.
need to do that mission to get the platinum. After that, you don't have. So that's 5 hours in. So I will have to replay it 3 more times for about 5 hours to get the play. But that's it. I don't. Honestly, my plan of I'm gonna play it through once good, once bad. I'm not gonna do it. I'll 100% it. I'll get all the collectibles, all that stuff. But I think I've made peace. I've said, okay, you're a great game. you were right there too with being like an elite game, and you didn't do it, but you were so close. And I have such great hope for the future for the second one. But at the same
Oh
time,
yeah.
it's like I've lived this for so. I think I said that to somebody in a message on Twitter. I've just lived it for so long. I do want. I'm still making a video every day on this game, but I want a break. So I'm gonna, I'm playing a different
Yes.
game. I can't wait for Atomic Heart. We'll talk about that next, just because it's something different. Much like Hogwarts, something different.
Yeah.
Just get me away from it. I'll jump in. I'll do the collectibles. When I feel like it. And I'll keep talking about it. For probably my entire life on YouTube. But yeah,
I think so far from just everything that I played, like even on my Steam Deck playthrough, I
yeah,
went through and decided to just travel a little bit more around the map and everything like that, just to get a hold, try to find some more pages,
yeah.
venture out further. Um, Accidentally ran into some enemies that clearly kicked my butt there. But I think that like still in part with more so what you said, just from various places in the game that you get to go and just the music is on point. When you cast spells, the sounds are
Yeah,
on point. It is an emotional thing because it's just like not only are we getting this, but you got it right. You didn't
yeah.
even just get it right.
The
You
spells, I think, honestly, man, they're underrated because it's
very
not even
underrated.
like when we talk about combat. I think the combat system is fantastic, but like even those. I said that in my review and maybe my impressions. The details, the sound of each
Yes.
spell, the visual look of them. And like games could probably even break. Like there are bugs in this game. I don't think I've experienced a bug with the magic. It's not like I've pressed Incendio and it doesn't fire the fire spell. You know what? Like that doesn't happen. It's so good. Like it's so good.
So
So it,
good.
it probably, considering what I said about the ending, that it's definitely not perfect. And there's also other issues. The combat is probably the best thing about this game, which
Yes.
besides the accuracy, if you want to quantify that. Accuracy, Hogwarts Castle is maybe the best thing. But besides that, it's the combat, like easily. And that's
Easily.
shocking, actually, if you think about that like 2 years ago.
I mean, even if you think about that last year.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
everything that
after
we've
the state
seen
of play.
last year,
Yeah,
yeah, like last year I was just like, okay, it looks interesting. Like it could be good. Maybe it's a feel situation.
yeah,
We always talk about that. It's one thing to look at a game
yep.
and then it's one thing to play it. And it's like you start playing it and it feels much better
Oh, yeah.
than like what we seen of it a year ago. And it's
Yeah,
just
that's very
it is
true.
totally an experience. So I can't say enough good things about Hogwarts, but I can't wait to get further into it. I can't wait to beat it. So
Yeah,
that way we can just come back and say like, okay,
yeah.
this was this, and just go back
Yeah,
and
I think
forth.
we could do. I think like a spoiler cast kind of episode of
Yes.
Hogwarts would actually be really fun to go through. Yeah, yeah, I can't. I mean, I liked the ending I got. I went deeper. Then you start to like analyze it, and it's like, ooh, I don't love everything. Some of this, I don't want. I want to even give hints, but people can get pretty mad, so I won't do it. But it's quite a game. And overall, I mean, whether you like what I said or don't like what I said, I really like this game. I think overall it is a great game. It probably is like an 8. Like if you're doing like scores, it probably is an 8. Um, I don't think it does, especially with the repetitiveness. I said this in the review. I like the Merlin trials. I love we talked about last week. I love the field guide pages. I still like that. There's a lot of repetitiveness. There's a lot of open world things that they did because they saw in other games, and you don't need to do it. And I know it makes the world maybe feel a little bit more active, and which actually is what I want, but like 60, 70 Merlin trials, and they're the same 4 things over and over. And you do not, and they're
Oh
tied to
God.
gear slots. So you need to do the Merlin trials to get more gear slots so you don't have to sell everything 5 minutes later. Those are things that flat out, you could have 10 Merlin trials. You could have not 600, or it's not, I don't even know how many collectibles field guide pages, maybe like 300 or so in the whole game. I don't know. The field guide pages are really fun. Like, I really do enjoy it. But here's the thing with the Merlin trials. I like them. Like, it's
There's
odd
too
how I'm
many of
talking.
them.
I like every one I did. It's like these are so meaningless, and they're just 2 steps or whatever, but I kind of enjoyed them. But then I take a couple steps back and say, well, but I think you can enjoy them, but realize you don't need them. I think that's,
Yeah.
I think you can say that about this game, because this game has a lot of that, where it's like, I didn't really hate anything while playing it, but did it need to go that way? No. And you could do that with a story. You could do that with repetitive kind of things like that. Merlin Trials, collectibles, the gear. I mean, the gear with the levels and all that stuff. I've always hated that.
Yep.
I don't know. And because the game tries to be an RPG, but it also definitely doesn't try in other regards, like with
Areas.
characters and
Yep.
story. So it kind of shows the gameplay side of RPG, which is arguably the worst side of it. That's maybe a hot take. When I think of RPGs, I think of the branching paths and the dialogue and choices and consequences. I don't really think to the gear menu. And, does that make sense? Like, that's
Yeah,
not what
yeah.
I like about RPGs, and that's what this game chose to do. And it did, and it's actually more of like a linear, like Uncharted. It's actually more of like a linear story.
Linear game, no
Yeah,
matter what you do, for the most part, you're getting the
which I
same.
don't mind, but
Yeah,
they
same.
I don't know. When you say live your legacy or live your whatever the
It
tagline.
sounds like it's your choice,
Yeah.
like
And I mean,
your
we
path.
all knew it going in. But when you play it and you say, well, this is an RPG from a gameplay side, it's totally an RPG. But then from everything else, it's really not. So you kind of have to pick what you're going to. Because I actually would have taken a more linear story. If you wanted to do that,
Yeah.
I would have done that. Give me one suit, one wand, no changes, no cosmetics. Just give me that. If you want to go the story side, where we want to tell the story, we don't want you to kind of break it apart. All right, that's fine. But then you
Or
do the
even
art,
go the
you know.
superhero route where you could just have the linear story and you can have the extra, let's say, cloaks,
Yeah.
just like on the side, and you just find them in the world like you would in Spider-Man, or
Yeah, Spider-Man's a good one.
unlock them, or Batman. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you could totally do that route,
Yeah.
but there's no reward with the RPG route if
Yeah.
there is no branching path. So it's like
Which again,
having the
I don't
RPG
hate while
elements with no
playing
rewards.
it, but you
Yeah.
realize, oh, the game. We actually, I guarantee you. I know I said it. I think we probably said it a week or two ago. This is a game that's trying to do everything.
Yes.
That's why. That's, if you want the reason, I have the reason. It's because this game, the room of requirement, is like Animal Crossing, but nowhere near as like fulfilling, right? Like everything
Yep.
in this game, they're trying to do for multiple groups, but because of that, you do limit yourself pretty much
Hmm.
across the board, except for combat. Which, you know what I mean? Like, everything in this game is pretty good because you
Yep.
tried to do like 30 things. And that's an issue in one sense. Somehow combat made it out of that, and being like, oh no, we're not messing around with combat. Combat is like our thing. But we talked about, I think, last week. Maybe that's just a Warner Bros. Thing. You got to
Yeah.
have good combat. Like, that's a requirement
You
to
have to.
make a game for us. And they did it.
I think honestly, they're all, if they, which they will expand on everything.
Yeah.
Please, if anybody is watching this from the team, lower the collectibles down.
Please.
A few hundred. All right, we love them. Just lower them down. Same thing with the Merlin trials or whatever trials you're gonna have for the
Yeah.
next one. Just lower them down. But other than that, like, I think if they can expand on everything like that, like even the room of requirement,
Yep.
it's everything is okay. But if you can make all of these things that you're trying to do, like everything, if you can enhance them to the elite level, like in
Yeah.
each different section, like you did with the combat, my God, we're
Oh
looking
yeah.
at
I mean,
something
yeah.
like
It
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 is
will
the
be the game.
potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be the game.
It's
This is the game that sets up for like a shot at having like
right.
possibly the greatest game.
Right. And well, a couple things to that. Number one, you could take that with characters too. I made I don't know when
Hmm.
the video will go up. Sebastian is incredible. He is.
So far, yes.
Well, I'll
Hmm.
tell you. I won't tell you the spoilers. He is. He keeps it. He actually gets better. Not necessarily his good side gets better, but he as a character is so good it's actually insane. He's probably the best character in the entire game. And also, but I guess the thing is, again, you did that, so you show me you can do it, and then you do not do it with Poppy or Natsai. They're not even on the same playing field as Sebastian. So that it does a couple things. It tells me well, you are capable of it and you just didn't do it, or time or resources. But it also tells me, for the future, Sebastian is the new bar. Like, you need all
Yep.
your companions to be like Sebastian. So that's a positive. I mean, I would look at it's a negative and positive, but if you want to look at it optimistically, they're very. Any complaint I have about this game, I probably can find an example in the game itself where they did extremely well. It's just not consistent. So what that tells me is that they're capable, right? Sebastian, the story. I think the story is very, very good at times. I think there's some amazing characters at times, but it's just not consistent. So that tells me you're able to do it, and the reason why you probably didn't, I'll just give them the excuse. It's their first time. This is the Days Gone. This literally is Days Gone. I mean, that's actually what this is. I don't want to. Days Gone was so controversial and all that kind of stuff, even with the creators of it and stuff. But I really think that's the perfect comparable. They went from Uncharted. Now, actually, they came from a better place, I think, than Avalanche. Uncharted Golden Abyss is really good. They made Uncharted, then they made Days Gone, open world zombie game, but not really RPG. Well, but you do get conversations, and there are a little bit of branching. I would debate. It's like Hogwarts. Do you want to call yourself an RPG or do you don't? You know what I mean? And for Hogwarts, it's kind of the exact same thing. You see the potential, but it's rough. It's rough around the edges. It's not perfect. And if the next game you do can jump to like a Red Dead or Cyberpunk, or if you can do that, well, not Cyberpunk in terms of its launch, but you can get there. And if this is your first attempt, you're already so as many negatives as Alex has to say about it, they're way ahead of the curve. Way more than I think we both thought they'd be.
Much agreed. And I think, like, even for the characters, like, it harkens back to what you just said. Like, was it a case of time constraints? Was it a case of just pure inconsistency? Or something I always look at, especially like with first games, first movies, is if there's a standout character, then what tends to happen is obviously the other characters kind of get thrown in the wayside.
Yeah.
If it's a movie, it's normally due to time constraints and they just don't have enough time to be fleshed out. So I wonder if it's a case of maybe like they were hiding, or like not hiding, but like saving certain things for like characters for like future games.
Yeah.
It just kind of makes me wonder what they're. But I always like to know, like,
it could
the
have
process
actually
behind
even been
it.
as simple as, because I won't spoil it, Sebastian links to the main story. Maybe you've noticed that, maybe not. But as you play, you literally will think Sebastian's questline and the main story collide. Poppy and Natsai have it a little bit where you can tell that it does also have to do with it, but it's very clear that I'll keep saying it, and once you play it, you'll know. You actually think they're almost the same thing. And I almost wonder if when they created the game, they thought of Sebastian first, because they made his plot, his line, and they said, well, this actually ties directly in. And they're like, all right, well, we need more than one. We need two. We need at least. Now, I think actually 3 is way too little. I think they needed. That's another issue. But, they said, okay, maybe we need a few more. So let's make these 2 girls. Oh, but here's the issue. Only Sebastian really matters to the main story. What are we going to do with these 2? You know what I mean? We can make them cool characters. They are cool characters. They definitely are. I like Poppy a lot. And Natsai, I really do too. I think, like you said, there's something there to both of them that I think you can continue in the future. They're just not. I don't think they were literally created with this, and that's probably Avalanche's communication. That was the issue, because I don't actually think there's 3 companions in this game. I think there's 1.
There's 1.
I think Sebastian is the companion, and those 2 are side characters, which sound like the same thing, but again, they really aren't. And I think that was their fault for saying all 3 of them are the exact same. You know what I mean? When you say all 3 of them
more
are
like
companions,
a main character, and the other 2 feels like side characters.
Yep, that's exactly it. When you tell us that you have 3 companions, but then they feel definitely like there's a tier level there, they're not really companions anymore, right? So that's I think that's probably how it went, to be honest with you. And then their communication, I get it. I mean, I get why you would call them companions, why you'd lump the 3 of them together. And there definitely is a difference between them and then anybody else, because you do meet a couple other characters. There's definitely another tier. So I get why those are 3 companions and the rest aren't. But I would struggle to say even specifically maybe not Sai, I would not call her a companion. I would not call her that.
I've barely interacted with her, and like my PlayStation playthrough, um, she's actually the one that I chose to train with, or
Yeah,
like do the dueling with. So like she's the companion that I roll with, and then on my PC version, I chose Sebastian.
yeah, yeah,
So and I can tell you now, even just from playing, even though I've caught up to where I am on the PS5, um, I can tell you I've seen Sebastian way more than I've seen outside.
yeah. I
Way
wish I,
more.
I wish I
So
tracked it because I do think Sebastian has more missions, and
yes.
I think factually Natsai has the least, but I'd never counted. I wish I could. Maybe I'll. And the thing is, when you go online and you search up like I've done it, like Hogwarts Legacy missions. Some sites are missing. They say it's the complete list. They're missing missions, and because you could find it on a different site. So I don't even think sites have gathered all of the mission names in the game yet. Once they do, I will definitely want to look at it, right? Because I want to see Sebastian has
Yes.
8, whereas Natsai has 5. Like I want to see that, and I'm sure. I feel very confident that that is the case, but I don't have the evidence because I didn't count. You know. How you
That
feeling, man?
is
About let's switch topics. We talked a lot. I mean, we'll talk about Hogwarts. Like I said, a spoiler thing I think would be really fun with you. What do you think about the PSVR 2? We were talking a little bit about it before we hit record. The day we're recording this
Courtney.
is the embargo lifting date. We got the review scores, I guess, for the console itself or the system. We also got some of the games. People talk about the games. So where are you on, getting it, not getting it, what you've seen so far that you like, didn't like, all that?
I'll tell you off air, but for the audience, my experience with VR is, as you can see, I got the first one. I've had that first one since launch, so I was very excited when the PSVR came out. Very excited to hop into the virtual world, just get to know everything, and the games that I played from the demo disc that it came with to I think it's Blood and Money, Iron Man VR, a lot of experiences that I've had on there have been absolutely incredible, but there's not enough of them. There's a long period of time where it was just nothing that came out for it. Not to mention the amount of cords, the boxes that you got to plug the cords into. It felt like a hassle just to turn it on and get everything right so you can get the plane. So it was a lot to be desired there, but I didn't mind it. But what I did start to mind was there was no support, and it's kind of that thing with even the PS Vita experienced it,
Yeah, oh my
where
God.
it was no real third party support, and barely first party support. So it was just one of those things where now I've had the Vita and I have had the VR where they did not support long term.
Yeah,
And I think that the headset, like you said off air, like it's top of the line. But the pricing is a problem, and the uncertainty of how far do you guys plan to support your products when your last two experiments outside of consoles you have not supported? It is the only reason why I am literally not getting it at launch. Because for me right now, the games that are coming out at launch don't really they're not anything to write home about for me. And number two, it's that if I want to get it right now, it would be nothing more than me getting it just to say I have it at launch and having it just to have it at this point.
right, right.
What about you, Alex?
Well, one thing I'll say about the Vita, I think it was supported okay for a bit. Vita was largely like an indie thing. I also think it's a
Yes,
byproduct
yes,
because people just didn't. I think I will put the blame. This is kind of like a joke. I think Kind of Funny's actually done this with like Greg and Colin. The fans
yeah,
are the reason the Vita failed. Okay, the fans did not support that goddamn system enough. I bought it. I bought it.
yes. I bought it.
Yeah.
I
There's
had two.
two. Oh my God. There's 3 sales right there. Just throwing that out there. No, I completely agree. The thing with VR, right? And the thing with VR too, and you were saying about why you'd be getting it, it got me thinking. Like right now, it's still the experience of VR is the reason you get VR, which
Hmm.
I think worked better in the past than in the present, right? Because now you got the economy and you got the price and all that stuff. But like a lot of people I do think know what VR is. Like when the PSVR 1 came out, and it wasn't the first VR headset, but it was my first jump into it. I remember my main selling point to my friends and coworkers was like, you have to play it. You have to just experience it because it's so different. I don't really think you can do that anymore. Does that make sense? Like, I still think that is the primary reason to get PSVR 2 is just it looks so much better, right? The display resolution, HDR, like it's like you said, it's top of the line, and that's great. But if that's the experience, that is the experience, right? Because you're literally experiencing frame rates and stuff. That's it. You need stuff to go with it. And then you also do have the price and the time it launches and all that kind of stuff. And like you said, uncertainty, I think people do kind of pay attention to that. Whether you just look to the last one, even if you don't do the Vita, just look at the last VR headset. It never really had the killer. I think there's some gems, but it never had like a God of War experience. Like it never had anything. It was driven again by smaller things, which is, and you can find cool things in it. Maybe that's better than some big stuff, but you're not going to sell it. And I think the first VR did not, I think it sold, maybe 5 million? I think they've given like the number for it. I think maybe it hit 5 million. Like that's pretty okay. But like this one, I think the projection is maybe like 1.5 or 2 in the first year. This one may also only sell like 5 million. Like that's, it's not great. And here's the thing. It all comes full circle. When you don't sell well, you don't have companies that want to do it. And you're not going to waste your own right? So it happens so fast too. It happened with the Vita. Like you give it a chance, you have 50 games in the first 2 months or whatever, Sony always says that. But if it doesn't do well in like a year,
they give up on
it. Companies don't want to do it. So you don't have third party. And then why would you have Insomniac do a Spider-Man thing when you can sell Spider-Man 3 and get 25 million sales versus a V? It's the economics of it, which is sad because from the reviews that we've both seen, the VR headset itself, the sites that are giving just the headset, it's getting 9s. I've watched even like tech channels that only do VR say it's one of the best ones out there. Like it's top of the class. But then you look at some of the games that came out for it, and some of them aren't even being reviewed because they're so bad, or people don't care, whatever. There isn't. Horizon is the main thing, and that game seems to be, now we always say make your own decision, but I haven't seen anything very uplifting that like you need to buy the VR because of Horizon. I have not seen it.
Yeah, it's an entire predicament. I think that once again, beautiful headset, beautiful design.
Yeah.
I love that they cut
The
down on the cords.
round.
Yes,
I love it.
It is something that I definitely want. It's just a reason to play it. A reason to be there. That is literally what they're missing. And like I said, with that uncertainty there. But other than that, like I said, like from a tech perspective, from everything that we've seen, this headset is beautiful. It is a beautiful made device, and I think that we can definitely sink our teeth into it if companies support it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much, like you said, what it comes down to.
Right.
The Vita, it had a lot of indie games. It also had a lot of Japanese RPG titles. Yeah, so it was very
it's the
good
birthplace
for that.
Of Persona 4 Golden, one of the all-time Gravity Rush. I mean, there's some amazing games.
And it was the first and third party is what killed it. They stopped supporting it. So it was just like, that's why I'm like, it's one of those things where like you got to give me a reason to play. I love Beat Saber on the VR. Just give me a reason to play, and that's all I'm asking.
I have Beat Saber twice on PSVR and then Oculus Quest. I have 2 different places.
And that's the other thing. Even when I think about it, is between getting the VR2 and something like the Oculus Quest or even Steam's VR that they sell. I think of that because I think theirs comes with the OLED screen, in the VR.
I think Sony's is the only one that's OLED. The rest are not.
Steam one isn't?
I'm almost positive it's not. I think Sony's the only one that, not to say it's like the best visually or anything, but I'm pretty sure it's the only one that uses that screen.
That has OLED. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that might sway me. That might sway me then.
There are
Um,
some, like people have talked about like viewing. I always found that so cool with the first VR. I never used it, but I always found the
mhm.
idea that your VR is it's a TV. You're kind of like sitting back and you can watch. You know what I mean? Like you can watch the game. You can play a normal game, and the VR headset is your TV. I always love the concept. I used it once on the V, and I hated it because it didn't look good. It was not tracking right. I've specifically seen people say it works amazing here. It stays right in front of you. It's probably equivalent to like a 1080p kind of display, so it's not going to look like if you have a 4K or whatever kind of TV, but it's still going to look much. I mean, like 5-10 times better than so I like that. But we said it before we recorded. A big part of it too is the price, not just because you had said earlier with just the price in general. A thing that's important is I think both of us are probably on the same. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're both on the same thing. We're not saying like it's priced badly for the technology that it has, right? Like
no,
I
it's
think for what
actually
it does,
priced
it's
pretty well
probably
for the technology.
yeah. I think it's probably underpriced for how the technology. It probably would sell $600-$700 if it wasn't needing the console. When I talk about the price, at least I'm literally I'm trying to think of the average person, right? It's tough times. You need like you said this before. You need a PS5. You already need a $400 or $500 console. Then you need a $550 VR. And by the way, that comes with nothing. You get the headset, you get the controllers, and a like earbud, but you don't have a game to play yet. So now reach into your pocket. You just spent $550, and that's if you already had a PS5 or you buy both, and then you got to buy 3 games, let's say, $50 each, maybe on average. So where's your $700? Now you're talking about $700, $800, $900. It's not $550 anymore. And you could say the same thing for PS5. But again, everything else kind of comes in. Are they going to support it? Are the games worth it? Are they really worth it? Are they when you buy a PS5, or Xbox, I mean, you know the quality you're going to get, but you don't know for VR. So, spend $550, then spend $150 more for like a couple launch games, then wait, then you're going to have to spend a couple other $100 to get maybe the real system sellers. Meanwhile, the world is collapsing. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's one of those things where it's just
It's
do you
unfortunate.
it's unfortunate and it's almost borderline like irresponsible in certain situations, especially for people who don't. I feel for the people who don't even have a PS5 yet,
Yeah.
right? The people who struggle to find one, and now that they're readily available, they saved up for a PS5 and they're like, oh, it's this VR2. Well, if you want to get into VR2, now you're at like 1,000 plus.
Yep.
So like it's one of those things where it's it's a commitment whether you have one or you don't, but it's a much larger one if you don't.
Right. Yeah, it's a lot of money. And I mean, everybody's financial situation is different. I'm sure some people are doing
Different.
just fine, and that's good. Like I hope people
Yeah.
are doing just fine, but yeah, like I can't, like me personally, we can only talk about necessarily ourselves. I can't sell this on my wife. Because like, you'll sometimes have these waves of like the info for VR. Maybe like 2 months ago, probably before Christmas, maybe it was right after Christmas. I was sitting on the couch back there, the green screen's blocking it, and I was thinking, wow, I thought of it. I just thought of the VR2, and I was like, I kind of forgot that it existed, and I think I like would get it. And I was thinking, okay, I could be irresponsible, put on like a credit card and stuff, and I'm dead serious. I think I convinced myself that it was $350 because I thought to myself, Christy, my wife, I think I'd be able to sell her on that. Like I think I'd say, hey, I think we can do this. And then I kind of forgot about it. And I saw like an article and I was like, oh yeah, the PSVR 2. And then I somehow, if I clicked on that article, I remembered it was $550. And I was like, why did I think it was $350? That is such a, and again, I get why it's priced. So it's not really, you got to separate yourself from that discussion. But it was kind of, I remember thinking, like laughing at myself. It's like, I don't know why I convinced myself that it was $200 cheaper than it really is. But then when I remembered it was $550, I was like, oh, absolutely not. Like, I'm not doing it. and immediately stopped me. And we play games so much. It's actually
So
my
much.
job to play games. And it immediately stopped me. I also maybe can think
And
about
that
it from the business. VR games have never done well coverage wise
no.
from me on my and I really don't think it's there's some I think
Anywhere I say.
yeah, there's like PS. Is there a PSVR without parole or something? Is that PlayStation one? He's a really good guy. He's got like 85,000. So I think if you made a channel only covering PlayStation VR, you'd be very limited. I think you could do it, but if you're not going to do that, you're screwed. So I can't even justify it from like my business and being like, well, if I if I get it, I can make the money back by doing review. I really don't. I absolutely don't think I would make my money back. So that's another. That's kind of a personal thing. Not everybody has that situation, but
It's a commitment. It is a life decision. It is a as a person, and this is coming from me who just buys dang near every collector's edition out
that's
there.
true. Two collector's editions, you're already there.
Right. And I'm like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I don't know if I can justify this. Like, at least the other ones, like I could display them, I
Yeah,
play them, like it. But this is like, it'll be on display.
yeah. It would.
I
It would
don't know
replace
how
the
much.
one behind you.
Exactly. That's going down. That would be popped up. Eventually, I will get it, but I think I will wait and see what they come out with. I
Yeah,
know that I'm definitely going to get it down the line eventually. It's just they have to show me more.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. I don't think I could live with it's the same thing with Microsoft or like it's not playing favorites. I hope nobody thinks we're playing favorites. Even I mean, it's coming
Yeah.
out when you guys watch it. It comes out like this upcoming Tuesday, or something crazy. It's like
Mhm.
it's right around. That's another thing I kind of forgot about. That's like, oh, it comes out like in a week. You know what I mean? I completely forgot about that. But yeah, when these systems come out, it's like I can't imagine myself not getting it. Like when the new Nintendo device comes out, is there anybody who's not gonna get? Like everybody's gonna get it at some point in their
Getting
lives.
mine day one.
Yeah. Well, did they? How did they handle? Was the Switch easy to get originally? I don't remember.
No.
Oh,
So
great.
I worked the midnight at GameStop for the Switch. And it was they were gone. Like even our pre-orders were not like completely covered. Like they sent in just enough
Yeah.
and then we didn't have any extras. So we would literally have everybody, I think we did the pre-receipt thing,
Yeah.
and after they were gone, and like we didn't have another shipment of them in until like I want to say like a week or 2 weeks
Oh
later.
my god.
So it was extremely, and that shipment was short. It came about like maybe six, it was under 10, so it was about 6 or 8 units that we had gotten for the next shipment.
That's
So
it.
it was legit. Yeah, that was it. So it was legitimately a
What?
struggle
When are
to
they
keep
gonna
that
like
shipment in.
figure it out that like I don't even think it's a question of they don't believe it. Not even just Nintendo. I'm saying anybody. I don't even think it's a thing of like they don't believe that people will buy it anymore. Like maybe that was a thing back in the day where it's like, well, this could totally bomb and nobody could get it. I think they know. Say the next Nintendo device, they know it can do what 20 million in the first like 3-4 months. Like it'll do
Yep.
like you've never seen before. It's just a production thing, but like you you would just start it early. Like I never actually understand that. Just start it earlier
Early.
because like if you know when it's coming out, don't give if you're going to give your however many months you give yourself to make these things, add on to it previous. Like go, think about it ahead of time, add an extra couple months so you have double the things. I know there's only so many trucks in the world or planes, but like you can fit them. Like I really I don't get it. For
I know.
PlayStation, Xbox, we know it was the chip thing, right? Like I think there's a
Yep.
real
The chip
reason.
shortage.
Maybe it's gonna be the same thing for Nintendo. I don't know what
I
the
know all the
actual.
companies compete for the same parts. Like they all use the same parts, and it's always like especially with more so with PlayStation and Xbox, they kind of take away from each other. But this generation, it seemed like Xbox was pumping them out way more often than
Didn't
PlayStation
Microsoft
was.
at some place like pay for
Yep.
priority in their, which is clever. There's probably
Yeah.
other words you can use.
If you got it, spend
I won't be
it.
mean to like you can be upset and that's totally okay. Hey, if you can actually do that, well, why didn't Sony do
Why
it?
wouldn't you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
So
just pay
they
for
pay
it.
for exclusivity any other time.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah. You can't pay for exclusivity for your chips for your console to be made. No, I really don't get it. I think I don't know. I feel like the Switch maybe like the Wii was something otherworldly, right?
Mhm.
The Wii you couldn't get for the Wii was this version's PS5, I think. I'd imagine.
Yes.
Um, I feel like there was also just a huge sense that once you got a Wii, it was just this like godsend moment in a different way, better way. I would honestly argue. Like it just felt more powerful getting a Wii. At least I thought than getting a PS5. Even though I do think
Revolutionary.
they're really similar. I think in how difficult they were to get. I don't know.
Yeah. I think Switch was it was less attainable than the Wii, but like it had longer like life span than the Wii. Like as
Yeah,
far as like look at where it's stretching to, look at the numbers that it's getting now, even to this day. Like um I think it just enhanced on what the Wii was and just capitalized on the potential there.
yeah.
That's pretty much what it did. So it was, but kudos to them for having two hard to get systems because like the
It
Wii
doesn't
was more
happen.
than
It doesn't happen
it doesn't
often.
happen,
PlayStation's
and they
done
did it.
well. The PS2 sold so well, but I mean, I was so young, I wouldn't even know. I'd have to look back in the history books. I don't think I've ever heard stories about how hard it was to get a PS2. It sold better than
Everyone
almost
had
any.
one,
Yeah,
but it wasn't
yeah,
hard to get
everybody
one.
had one, but you don't really hear that it was that difficult. And I don't think it probably was less competition, all that kind of stuff, and it's just become more and more. Um, yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do. Nintendo, I'm sure, man. When Nintendo announces their new thing, that'll be a lot of fun to cover. I'm sure we'll do, a lot of it. Want to
You gotta go
quickly get
day
your
one.
thoughts on Atomic Heart. I've made maybe only one video on it so far. I'm gonna cover it a lot when the game comes out. I just want to kind of hear, where, what's your knowledge of the game? What's your plans? Whether you're getting it or not? How do you feel about that?
So it was actually not on my radar at all.
Okay,
And what made it on my radar was I think they just did a commercial
that
with Jensen
Hogwarts one,
Ackles.
yeah, yeah.
And I looked at it and I was like, okay. I kind of like the little bits of game shots that they showed. I was like, okay, this could be interesting. So then I started looking up on YouTube, and I'm like, okay, all right,
Yeah,
I like what I'm seeing here. It was not on my list at all, and now it might be a not necessarily an impulse buy, but
yeah.
it's something I'm strongly thinking
Well,
about
it's on
here.
Game Pass. I don't know if you know that. It's on Game Pass.
No, I
So,
did not know that.
yeah,
So then there you go.
there you go. Honestly, and it's not, sucking up to, we just, talked a lot about PlayStation in this one. The fact that Atomic Heart, a full price, I think it's full price, I think it's 60. It's coming out on Game Pass is nuts to me. It's insane that something like that. And Plague Tale Requiem just did this. My literal game of the year last year. You could get it for free on Game Pass. So not sucking up to the, I'm not telling you, get your $1 for 3 month subscription like some of those Twitter people do. But that's just another benefit because I think Atomic Heart looks really, really cool. And then if there's also no barrier of entry, if you pay $0 for it on Xbox, why wouldn't you try it, right? So, yeah, I think the commercial they did making fun of Hogwarts was I mean, I
Brilliant.
love that.
It was
And
brilliant.
this coming from two people that have talked about Hogwarts a lot. And Jensen Ackles as well. Like it was really clever. I'd like to know when they thought of, like, I think commercials generally aren't filmed that far in advance. So I feel like it was probably in the last couple weeks they did that commercial. And like, I don't know, like, I wonder what kind of rabbit holes they went down to know, because we knew Hogwarts was going to do well. It seems like some people were caught on surprise because they don't think very well. They probably just looked at it and said, this game's going to do incredible. Let's make fun of it a little bit. I mean, that was so clever and fun to me. And then, yeah, I
Smart.
think, like, exactly what you said, that's probably the goal of the commercial because it doesn't
Yeah.
show much gameplay. I've seen way more gameplay, previous. I've known about it for a while. But for people like you, or imagine these tens of millions of people that got Hogwarts like in the first week, they see that commercial, they say, oh, that's kind of funny. And they say, well, the game looks cool, but we saw like 10 seconds of it. Let's look it up. And they look it up and they say, oh my God, this game's rad. Like that's probably exactly what they wanted people to do.
living proof here.
Yeah.
So
I
yeah, they that commercial did what it was intended to do.
yeah. Yeah. I'm pumped for it. I'm excited. I hope it's consistency, much like Hogwarts in a way. What we've seen has been kind of next level. Like, I actually kind of think Atomic Heart won't be able to keep it up. Is when it looks good, it looks like mind-blowingly incredible. This kind of perfect blend of BioShock and all this kind of stuff. Can it do it the whole game? I highly doubt it. At the same time, it's $0. I don't really care. It's also something just
Yep.
new. It's just new. It's different. So yeah, I won't talk too much about the I don't know if you know this, and we won't go too deep. There's some pretty controversial stuff because the developer of where they're originated and where they work out of, and there's some pretty crazy stuff that goes on. Honestly, and I've seen people comment, "You guys didn't learn with Hogwarts, did you?" This
Oh
is,
God.
I would say, I will talk to you about it afterwards, when we're off. But I think this one is kind of different, and I could actually see maybe more people being upset about this one than Hogwarts. But at the same, it's got a lot of the same themes where you're telling people what to do, and you could still wiggle your way. I don't think this game, like, I still have the same principle. I think if you get this game, it doesn't make you bad. I
That
think
person.
I can
Yeah.
see people going after it more. Like, I understand it a little bit more, but the principles still apply. If you get this game, you're not certain words. Get the game, don't get the game. If you get it on Game Pass, guess who supported the game? Microsoft, not you. People don't really say, now that I'm thinking about it, these geniuses online, do they think that through? If you support this game by playing it on Xbox or PC, you're not actually buying it. Who gave them the contract? Microsoft. They pay them however many millions to put it on Game Pass. So who's your real enemy? Us, the players, or the corporation of Microsoft who did this?
That's a good question. That's honestly something
That's
good to
different
think
than
about, honestly.
Hogwarts because
Way different than
it's not
Hogwarts.
on Game Pass or anything.
I think we should just I've said it a million times here. It agree to disagree. I
Yeah.
mean, life would be so much better if we can agree to disagree. We are
Yeah.
not everything that you consume is has got a history to it.
Yes.
So I think that just being an individual and judging people off of their character and not off of what they like to play, because video games, comic books, all entertainment is escapism at its heart. And escapism isn't just one thing. When you try to make it one thing, you take away
Right.
creativity. And you want to keep as much creativity as you can. So I think as a society, we should just let creatives be and just realize everything isn't for everyone. Because
Yeah.
as we're learning, whether it's with, you can look at the sales for certain properties, movies, games. um when you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing no one, and when
Yep.
you end up pleasing no one, there's a lot of franchises that everyone or a lot of people love that end up going down the toilet because nobody's buying it anymore. And so the company can't justify spending money to keep the franchise alive. So
Right.
I think that everyone just needs to agree to disagree and just go back to just being an escapism. It doesn't
Yep.
mean anybody's a bad person just because of what they decide to play. We just literally just need to come together as a society, agree to disagree, respect each other's opinions, and just move about, because that's what it's all about. A community is literally a community for everybody to come together, no matter what their beliefs, no matter what. It's just we love something, and we're all here together to love that thing.
Yeah.
No matter who made it, we're not loving who made it. We're loving the creation that they made. And
Yeah.
that is what the community is about. And that's
That's a good
something I try to
point.
tell my Discord moderators. Not my Discord moderators, but my Discord community is just constantly, we're here to be fans of this IP, and this is why we're here.
You know, last thing I'll say, and we'll end it after this. But that's a so when we talk about games, right? It's odd because I think there are some that really will push like crediting who made it, and I think even
Mm-hmm.
even myself, like as you get more and more into it, like I do think of the developers, right? Like I think of them as people, but so keep that in mind. But at its most basic level, when you play game, like you just said, you're only thinking about that thing. I think it takes an extra step to then start to thank the director of a
Hmm.
movie, the writers. For the longest time, I could care less. And I still, as you meet more people, as people follow you on Twitter and stuff, like maybe you're more aware. But that's also a different class of person. Like that's me being I'm on YouTube. I talk to these people, right? That if you're just a consumer, you don't look at the credits, right? Like what? Don't they always say that nobody reads the credits? Oh, well, stay until the credits in a movie. Oh, look at the credits at a game to respect. But at its most basic level, people don't care. And in a way, that's not good. But in proving our point here, like you just said, that's a really good point. That's the whole thing. People are only there for the product. Most don't even stay to look at who made it. Most don't even know. It's why we have to explain, like when a developer makes a game, maybe we would look back, okay, what's the developer done before? What have the people done before? Most people don't do that at all. They could care less. They only judge it, which is fine. It's actually probably the most basic instinct kind of thing. Just judge it on what you
Hmm.
see. You
Call it
know?
how you see it. And I think that what a lot of people don't realize, and I know it seems like this because Twitter, social media is just such a big thing. But the amount of people that are on social media versus the amount of people that aren't is another thing that I don't think people really realize.
Yeah.
That number is very, very big in comparison to one to the other. And casuals, no matter what you do, no matter what IP this is, casuals are always going to outnumber the diehard fan base. And when it comes to gaming media, when it comes to a lot of the things that Hogwarts Legacy was dealing with, or maybe Atomic Heart is dealing with, um, the casual audience are the audience that are most likely to not know any of that,
Yeah.
um, not know anything that's going on. And they are the majority in almost every case. The casual fans are the majority. So you're willing to put people or label people as something who genuinely have no clue what's going on. And
Right.
I think that that is when you think about it that way, you can really grasp the harm you're doing to people who don't even know any of this controversy. And even if the intentions are to inform people, you have to also be prepared to respect the fact that they're like, well, I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah.
Hey, some people might not even know that J.K. Rowling is the author.
True. Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
like they might not care about any of that, but they love Harry Potter. They grew up reading or watching Harry Potter, and that's something that they want to pass to their kids, and it's literally just the IP.
Yeah.
So this is the problem with giving people the whole notion of, well, if you play this, you're this or this and that. No, people can be beautiful in their own ways, no matter what they play, and it just comes down to the character, and that's why it's judge a person for the content of their character, not the stuff that they indulge in.
All right, so we had technical difficulties over there with Sway's
Technical
camera, but
difficulties.
that's okay. Honestly, awesome talk. These are always a blast, and I like that we kind of cycle through a couple different topics. So make sure you guys leave some comments, ask some questions. This will probably be generally what we do, just try to pick some of the bigger topics that are going on at the time and kind of go from there. But Sway, through just voice only, you got a great voice. Any last thoughts to the people at home?
Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. I always appreciate you all. Get out there and start gaming. It's about to be a busy time.
Yeah,
I will throw in the fact that there is IGN Fan Fest this week, starting as of you're watching this
yeah,
Friday and Saturday,
yeah,
and there might be announcements there. So stick into that. But
yeah.
other than that, thank you for watching. Ask questions. Love you all.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and the Fan Fest, I'll be keeping my eye on that for Scream specific content, but God knows what else will actually be there. So let us know what you think. Make sure you guys are subscribed, and we'll see you all on the next one.